pro shops, you'll
I always say it's like family here.
RK Chevrolet does it right. With the Chevy employee discount for everyone. The Chevy price you pay is what we pay, not a cent more. New 2020 Silverados up to $8,465 below MSRP. New 2020 Equinox $27,900. $27,900. And every new RK Chevrolet comes with RK coverage, no charge.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Chevrolet does it
right.
RK Chevrolet of Vineland.
Big day of closet organizing and jigsaw puzzling? Get Pizza Hut's Big Dinner Box. 2 medium pizzas, breadsticks, and your choice of pasta or wings. Sealed for your safety, all in one box. Choose contactless delivery or new curbside pickup at pizzahut.com.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Hut, hut.
Visit bankofamerica.com.
The Ram Big Finish event, we're serving great deals all month long. We put forth the Ram 1500 with available features like a legendary Hemi V8. We present our most powerful heavy-duty truck ever for 2021 with best-in-class diesel torque and towing among 350 and 3500 pickups when properly equipped. And as a brand, we won Motor Trend's Truck of the Year back to back.
No one out cheeses, out meats, out supremes, out crusts, or outstuffs the Hut. Because when it comes to making your favorites, no one outpizzas the Hut.
Head to your locally owned Meineke for all your auto repair needs. Right now, get 30% off oil change packages. Meineke for tires, brakes, batteries, exhaust systems, and more. Meineke, doing car care right.
WPEN, Burlington, Philadelphia.
A Beasley Media Group station. Home of the Ron Jaworski Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
Plug in.
97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia. It's week 16 in the NFL, and the Birds are in last place in the NFC East. With 2 games remaining and a quarterback controversy at hand, the Eagles are in Dallas this Sunday to take on the Cowboys. We're talking Eagles football, and this is the Ron Jaworski Show. Now, here's your host, Ron Jaworski.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ron Jaworski Show. And yes, we are coming to you live from the 7 Tap Tavern at the Ramblewood Country Club. Oh, and yeah, we did have some golfers out today, and with the weather hitting 60 tomorrow for the temperature, we'll have some more golfers out at the golf courses and Christmas Eve. It's a great time of the year. Special thanks to sponsors of this show, Bradford White Water Heaters, Carl Pinto, and all the fine folks over at Bradford White Water Heaters. They are built to be the very best, and they are. And a special thanks to all my friends over at Miller Lite. That is my adult beverage of choice. The Miller Lite folks, Mark Kramer, Brendan Dalton, Kramer Beverage. Thank you guys so much for your amazing support throughout the years of the Ron Jaworski Show and the Fanatic as well. It's Dallas week. It's Dallas week. Hard to believe that. It's so quiet. It's so quiet in Philadelphia. This is normally the week you get absolutely lathered up for. It's the Cowboys. It's the Eagles. Unfortunately, it's the last place 4-9-1 Eagles and the struggling Dallas Cowboys. But it doesn't mean anything because the whole division is wide open. The Eagles can go to the playoffs. The Cowboys can go to the playoffs. Hey, we're going to need a little help, but the Eagles can go to the playoffs and get a home game. So we got to get some meaning back into this Dallas-Philadelphia game. Boy, I remember my playing days under Dick Vermeil. Schedule came out. There's a big circle around Dallas at home and Dallas in Dallas, going down to Big D. That was always the game you pointed for. I'm not so sure this game is as important as we all think it is. man, it's frustrating at times because I always look forward to the Dallas game. There's just something about it. As a player, I know coaches. I know how Dick Vermeil felt about it, the entire coaching staff. Man, it was one you got to win. It was bragging rights. It was the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. I don't know. The luster seems to be gone. But I'm going to bring in my guest and get his feeling on the Dallas-Philadelphia rivalry and why it seems to be diminishing. I think people are more concerned about the Sixers opener tonight than the Cowboys-Eagles game. Or we could talk about Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, which has been talked about ad nauseum. And we'll talk down the road about the future of this Eagles football team and what direction everyone sees it going in. But before we get to some of that, I want to bring in my very special guest because he is special, Mr. Hugh Douglas. And he was an Eagle, 3-time Pro Bowler with the Eagles, first-team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He started his career at the Jets, 95 through 97, came to the Eagles 98 to 2003, was a Jaguar, came back to the Eagles. He wanted to get back here so much. Man, the numbers are staggering. 80 sacks, 352 tackles, 15 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries. And, oh, by the way, as a defensive lineman, scored a touchdown on an interception. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Hugh Douglas. Hugh, how are you, my friend?
Jaws, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
I know it. I'm so happy for you. I know you're working down at 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, so you're covering a team like the Eagles that has been struggling to find an identity.
Struggling, Jaws. It's been rough down here, man. And it's the one thing I can say, that quarterback spot, Matt Ryan's under a little bit of fire. You know how hard it is to play quarterback, especially when the team around you isn't playing well. And everything happens, everything begins and ends with the quarterback. That's how it always is on every team.
But Hugh, you jump out last week, come on, against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and all those weapons, and you jump out and you grab them by the throat, and you can't hold on. Defense.
But, Jaws, it's been like that all year long. It's been like that all year long. And some people, I always point to the defensive woes because that's me as a defensive player.
Yep.
But here in Atlanta, you always hear about how the offense sputters in the second half. Now, some of that is true, but as a defender, when you jump out on a team like that and you put points on the board, you're supposed to be able to defend that lead. You're supposed to be able to do that on the defensive side. It hasn't happened. And as you know, when the quarterback starts not playing well, it always goes to the QB. Regardless if it's the defensive side, it's always on the QB.
And when your quarterback's struggling, you know what you need? A running game. And like here in Philly, we got a running game. We just don't call it. In Atlanta, you don't even call it.
Jaws, we got Todd Gurley, and Todd's been okay. Todd Gurley is not the Todd Gurley that he once was. He's not that. But, you're trying to throw deep throws, Jaws, and you haven't even established the run game. You know how that goes. If I'm a defender and I see and I know that you're not trying to run the ball, guess what? I'm not playing the run. I'm not going to play the run because I know your bread and butter is to try to throw the football, and that's what Atlanta is right now. And, that's one of the main reasons why, they get on that bucket Bronco, regardless to what team they're playing against. They can't seem to hold the lead.
Hugh, you almost teed me up for my next question to you because here in Philadelphia, we kind of look at that same dilemma. This is a football team in Philly that can run the football, averaging 5 yards per touch. It's the best in the NFL, running the football. Yet, we've got a team that seems to rely on the passing game. I've always been a big believer in balance, equilibrium, keep the defense honest, make you defensive linemen that want to put your hand in the ground, attack the quarterback, take out an offensive lineman about 2 out of 3 snaps, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the rules have opened this game up so much now that I'm an old school thinker thinking you have to have balance, you got to run the football. Oh, we got these dynamic quarterbacks that run around and make plays. We got more wide receivers in the field than we've ever had. So has the game changed to where the running game isn't as important anymore?
You know what, Jaws? It is because, around this time of the year, the teams that run the ball well, i.e. the Tennessee Titans, they tend to do a little bit better. And it takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback. Why do you think Ryan Tannehill is playing so well? is because they have a strong running game. And when you have that, you have to keep defenses honest. Honestly, Jaws, I think everybody's been enamored. I think this year is the highest point total by, I think it's about 2 points that we've been scoring this year is through the roof.
And that's a big number. That 2 points more game is a big number.
Yeah. And I think this teams are enamored by the fact that, you know, you can throw the ball. You know, when Big Red was in Philadelphia, he used the passing game to set up the run in certain extent when you talk about the screen game and things of that nature. That's just the way the game has evolved. And then you talk about running backs. There's not that many big stud running backs like there used to be. You see running backs by committee for the most part.
Right.
So I think that's probably a little bit of it as far as the running game is concerned. And the fact that the pass is just prettier, Jaws. You know, people like to throw the ball down the field. It's just a pretty thing to see.
You know, you got to go back to that Woody Hayes theory, though. When you throw the football, 2 things bad can happen out of 3. Incomplete and an interception. You know, sometimes that's just
sometimes keep it on the ground.
Yeah.
Keep it on the ground.
Keep it on the ground. You know, and there's a mentality, and I've always believed in the physicality of the game, and you know, here in Philadelphia, it's been a struggle with the offensive line. 13 different line combinations. You know, I mean, you got to get these guys in the game, and when you get in situations where you're calling pass to the tune of almost 68% of the time, offensive line, particularly young guys, go, hey, call a run. I want to come off and hit somebody. I want to smash Hugh Douglas on the next play.
Let me tell you, Jaws, the worst thing in the world is when, say, like, for instance, back in the day when we played the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have always had one of the bigger lines in football.
Right.
And defensive linemen are usually smaller. They just run smaller. To have to get leaned on for 4 quarters by those big dudes like that takes its toll after a while. That's why the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the day with Jerome Bettis were so great at running the football, because if the run didn't pay dividends for you in the first half, you best believe in the second half, those smaller defensive linemen have been leaned on all game. Right. It starts to take its toll. And that's how you open up the game. You stick to the run game. But nowadays, it's just not like that. It just doesn't feel like that's the case.
You know, Hugh, it's Dallas week in Philadelphia. And quite honestly, when I open the show, it doesn't feel like it. This, to me, has always been just an arch rivalry game. The Cowboys, the Eagles just don't like each other. The fans don't like each other. You know, I know when I came here way back in the day in 1977, you know, that was the team that we aspired to be. The Cowboys were a great football team. So Dick for real knew that, hey, if we want to be a great football team, we got to surpass the Dallas Cowboys. Well, we did. We beat them in the championship game. But ever since I came to this town, I've always felt that was the measuring stick for the Eagles. You know, hey, New York was important, the Giants, and Washington was important, but Dallas, all that America's team garbage and all that stuff that we had to hear all the time, you know, we wanted to knock that out of the way. But I kind of sense, you know, with the Eagles right now struggling, the Cowboys struggling, this game has lost its luster, even here in Philadelphia. How do you get it back?
I think the teams have to play better, Jaws. This has been a tough year. You know, it's like I cringe, even down here, when we're talking about division, when people say the NFC least, that bothers me. That bothers me because I know firsthand how physical it is to play in the NFC East when all the teams are doing well. I can remember vividly looking at that schedule. I heard you talking about looking at that schedule and circling that game and saying, yeah, we got the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to tell us where we are. And then the following week, you know, you like when you have in the schedule, you have the Dallas Cowboys, you're getting ready for that game. And then the next week, you have the Washington Redskins. You're like, oh, Lord. So, you know, during that stretch of games that you got to get a little bit extra work in the weight room. You got to get a little bit more steam room to get your body ready to go, because you knew that those teams in that division were bringing that thigh out every week, and you were fighting to get out of that division. That's what I remember about it. Yeah. And when it becomes that, when both teams are good, that's when the rivalry will get better, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're listening to the Ron Jaworski Show with my very special guest, Hugh Douglas, 3-time Pro Bowl player, 2-time first-team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. How about this? 352 tackles and 80 sacks. Hugh Douglas breaking down the defense. And, you know, Hugh, as I look at this Eagle defense right now, and I know you would probably agree with me. I think Howie Roseman has done a good job of building this team in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line, and it spent a lot of money on the defensive line, the most of any area of the team and the most of any team in the league. And I know you're going to agree with that. But hey, you're a defensive lineman. You better agree with that. You like to get paid, right? Like to get the big money.
Definitely.
But can you make a mistake by allocating so much money to the defensive line that you don't have enough to take a linebacker early, to acquire some secondary help? It's a depleted secondary right now. I know they went out and got Darius Slay and as a free agent and paid for him, but can there be a mistake of spending too much money on the defensive line?
You know what, Jaws? It's funny that you mentioned that, because down here it's the opposite. You know, they spent a lot of money offensively. I think that it's tough, especially when you talk about the structure of the NFL. You know, it's designed when you think about it, Jaws. You know this. You're like, when you build your team, you have to build it in spurts. You know,
right.
what the New England Patriots were able to do for as long as they were able to do it, that's an anomaly. That's hard to do. Because most of the time, when you have big-time quarterbacks, a quarterback taking up most of the roster cash. He's taking up most of the roster cash. And most times, when the quarterback's making money, what do? You got to go out and pay the offensive line to protect your quarterback. So it becomes a situation where, you always hear about the window to win a Super Bowl. Because, and people think most of that is talking about the age of the players. Some of that is true, but it's also talking about salary cap and cap space and things of that nature. Because even right now here in Atlanta, Julio Jones is still he's hurt right now, but he's still able to play at a high level. Matt Ryan is still a really good quarterback, struggling right now, but he's a really good quarterback. But Jaws, the conversation right now here in Atlanta is when the new GM and the new head coach come in, what are they going to do about this salary cap space? That's just how it is. Because when you build a team to win a Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl, it costs money. And we all know that if you don't hit during that window, then you got to hit the reset button because you don't have the kind of money. And I think that's kind of where the Eagles are right now. You talk about the year that they won the Super Bowl. Man, the city was crazy. I drove back up, Jaws, and went to the parade. It was the most beautiful thing that I saw in my life. Took my son with me, and it was a beautiful time. But I think now when you talk about the offensive line getting a little bit older, Carson Wentz has a lot of money under his belt. He's not playing well right now. That's what you have. That's what you have right now.
Yep.
This might be, unfortunately, the turning of the worm for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. This might be, the new regime might be ushering in. Jalen Hurts might be that guy. I don't know yet, Jaws. I don't know. I don't know if Carson Wentz can bounce back from this, but that's what you're looking at. Lane Johnson's making a lot of money, and he's been banged up. He's been banged up quite a bit.
All right,
so
I'm going to ask you to put your helmet on. All right, you be DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford, defensive ends for the Dallas Cowboys, and you look at Jordan Mailata and Matt Pryor. It's no longer Jason Peters and Lane Johnson, who you just mentioned a moment ago. You got to be thinking, I got to win. I got to win my matchups. And by the way, Matt and Jordan are playing well.
If you don't win that matchup, George, you're not a football player. That's how you're looking at it. You're talking about guys who haven't been on the field that much. Like if you don't win those matchups, those are the things as a D lineman that you try to exploit. Guys that aren't used to seeing the TE stunts and things of that nature, that aren't used to being out there and having those physical confrontations, game in and game out. When you talk about Jason Peters and Lane Johnson, those guys right there, man, they moved the crowd. They were salty up front, real salty. So now Jason Peters been banged up a lot, and Lane Johnson been banged up. It's just not the same, dog. It's just not.
So how do you prepare? You're a defensive end. I mean, in your film study, you're looking at these young guys. And by the way, I think they both played pretty well. But we talked about the whole mess of an offensive line as far as guys in and out. It's hard to develop continuity. As you're preparing for this group, what is your study habit like, and what are you telling your coaches when you see young players lining up across from you?
Well, I would think that, first of all, Jaws, that you want to try to confuse them as much as possibly can. You want to establish the fact that as a defensive end, that you're coming off the corner. You want to make sure that you let them know that speed is a part of your game. And then after that, it becomes a chess match. You know, I mean, a lot of defensive ends don't know how to be physical at the point of attack. So I would definitely attack them physically. I would say that, you know, running into them a little bit and doing things like that would help set up moves later on in the game. Because, you know, the offensive linemen, just like everybody else, you know, they have in their mind the kick steps and all the other stuff. They're going to set to a point. But as a defensive lineman, I would try to disrupt their timing as much as I possibly can. You know what I'm talking about, when they kick, 7-step kick, drop, the quarterback's going to be here, then he's going to step up in the pocket, so try to run the defensive lineman around the hook and all the other stuff. No, I'm engaging. And especially since it's the Dallas Cowboys, I'm being as physical as I possibly can, if it was the other way around. You know, and when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys against the Eagles, I'm just going to be physical against them.
Now, Hugh,
so that's how I would attack them.
Yeah, you mentioned a moment ago, you know, the controversy that is down in Atlanta right now, you know, with Matt Ryan, all the money he's eating up in the salary cap. Well, you talk about a problem in Atlanta. There's a major problem in Philadelphia. If you got a franchise quarterback, you're going to make $128 million over the next 4 years. That might be the backup quarterback. Might be. We'll see how this all plays out. Hurts certainly has played very well in his 2-game sampling. But what do you do? How can you address, or maybe in your experience, have you seen other teams handle this situation? Because, you know, when you got to pay your quarterback $128 million, that means today's salary cap age, with probably less money coming to the league this year because of COVID, there's going to be less money to distribute to other players. How do you handle a situation like this from a salary cap management?
Well, first of all, Jaws, I am a firm believer. As well as Jalen Hurts has played in 2 games, Jaws, I am of the firm believer that it takes 4 games, at least 4, to figure out what you have at quarterback. And the reason why I say that is this. You know, everybody watches film. And when I think it takes at least 4 games in the NFL to get a book on a quarterback, what he can throw and what he cannot throw, before you can effectively game plan against him. A perfect example of that this year is Taysom Hill down there in New Orleans. And the way that he played the first couple of games, played the first game out, played the Atlanta Falcons, had a little bit of success, wasn't throwing the ball great. But as teams got a little book on him, they tend to see that he struggles a little bit, try to keep him in the pocket, make sure that you muddy up those passing lanes for him, and make him throw the tough throws. Make him throw the tough throws. I think that as far as how you manage it, you have to see where you at with him first, as far as the quarterback is concerned. And then, you know, you talk about Carson Wentz and the money that he's making, Jaws. I don't know a team that's going to take on that salary.
Hugh, do you feel? Yeah, that's always going to be the challenge. Did you get a feeling? I'm not sure you were ever in a situation where they're like 2 quarterbacks, and conventional wisdom has always said if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, because it divides. It divides a locker room, it divides a team, it divides a city, and we're starting to see that in Philadelphia right now. The media taking sides, the fans taking sides. Eventually, Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie are going to have to take a side. How difficult is it to be in that locker room and stay down the middle?
You know, I think initially everybody just wants to win. The good thing about it, you got 2 games left. You got the Dallas Cowboys. If you beat the Dallas Cowboys, that's going to salve a little bit of those wounds. Well, it all depends on who you are. If you're Carson Wentz, you're probably a little bit upset because you're not playing. But this is something that I think, Jaws, I can't see that this is going to be resolved in 2 weeks. I just don't see that. I don't see this being the case. I think this carries over into next year, because if say, for instance, Jalen Hurts does play well this game and plays the last game, I still don't think that's enough of a sample to say that you want to move on from Carson Wentz. And then in the offseason, Carson Wentz, you know, takes a little time off, takes a little bit of breather. And I just want to say, Josh, I don't know if the stories are true about Carson Wentz being disgruntled and all the other stuff. I hope they're not. Because that would be unfortunate, you know, because he's done a lot of good in the city from what I've seen.
Yeah, and Hugh, I'll chime in there. I don't believe that's true. You know what it's like. You know what the media is like. People love to chirp and talk, and no factual basis behind it. Rumor, innuendo, and bury Carson Wentz. It's not fair. You know, let this play out. And I agree with you. You know, that's why I'm at with it, Jaws, because
I don't know. I'm not in Philadelphia. You know, you hear certain things, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not the case. I think that you have to step away from all of this. And next year, you go into training camp and you just see how it plays out. Now, I will say this.
Hugh, unfortunately, I've got to get to a break. I will ask you this. You want to come back after the break? I'd love to talk to you about this, unless you got to run.
Yeah, Jaws, hey, Jaws, anything for you.
I'm thrilled to have the great Hugh Douglas on the line, and if you want to stay a few minutes, I would love to continue this discussion. So the Ron Jaworski Show, we'll be back with Hugh Douglas right after this.
I always get exactly what I'm looking for when I go to RK. RK does it right.
Save thousands on our new lineup of winter-ready vehicles at RK Kia. Lease new Kia Sportages from $198 a month, $198, or get 0% APR financing for 60 months. Every new RK Kia comes with RK coverage, no charge, during the Command the Season event.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Kia does it
right.
At RK Kia of Vineland.
Business of
Pizza Hut wings are bigger and better than the other Pizza Guy's wings. No one outwings the Hut.
First of all, Darren, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jaws. Good to see you. Good to hear you.
Yeah, good to be with you, my friend. You know, and the first thing I got this morning is this has really been kind of interesting to me. I am not a bettor per se, but I like to pick games. And like people ask, well, Jaws, you now have a podcast, and you're picking games. Well, how did that come to fruition? I said, to me, it was really simple. When I was playing, there'd always be aware of the lines and everything like that. I would get angry fan mail from games that we won, and people were mad at me because we didn't cover the spread.
Right.
You get crazy stuff, crazy fans up there like that. So, I retired, and all these podcasts are coming into play. And on our website, I'm picking games just to drive viewers to my website. I own golf courses and restaurants and stuff like that, sports bars. So I'm trying to get people to come to my website. And all of a sudden, late in the week, I am getting all kinds of hits on my website. I mean, hundreds of thousands of hits on my website. People looking for guys like myself who are picking games, and they know I'm not picking out of a hat. I kind of have the same mentality I had when I was a player. Like, I study the tape, I look at the analytics. I got an analytics team with me at, helping me make these picks for my podcast. So I really enjoy that part of it. I can't play anymore, but I like putting the work in to make a pick of who's going to win. And are people looking in that regard from guys like myself that are doing podcasts and picking winners, or are they looking? I go on the websites, all these gaming, and everyone's picking games. So I'm pretty happy that I'm almost 52% winning.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. The NFL having I was never a lifetime bettor, but I have covered sports betting for 20 years as just kind of when big moments came up, I covered it, and certainly did it for ESPN too. And now I'm at the Action Network, where it's, real data analytics, guys who never played. There's a couple ways you can go about it. You can go guys who have played, who understand tape, who understand the ins and outs. The public makes a huge mistake. The reason why the NFL is so hard to pick is the average bettor, I'm telling you, the average casual bettor looks at records. And that's a horrible mistake. That's why the NFL is so tough. But our guys at the Action Network who never played, but they just have all the different types of analytics. How important, since coming over there, the importance of the weather is unreal. And then realizing what team obviously responds to that type of weather. Yep. I mean, it is in the weeds. But I think it's just like someone who has $5,000 in stock. They want to watch CNBC because they want to be the best that they can be. Mm-hmm. And so I think as casual bettors who don't even have a whole lot of money in it are trying to be as good as they could be, they are trying to delve into whatever will help them make the best picks. And guess what? Sometimes things don't make sense. And, I would never have put money on the Jets money line. I mean,
you kidding me?
That was just gross. But
or the Steelers done last week. I mean, come on.
Exactly. I mean, it's so but sometimes things don't happen. But I think if you really study it and you look at it, most times that's at least going to help you. I love betting live. I mean, betting live to me is just insane. It's like, how do you outsmart the sports book and the computer algorithms? And for me, and I think you'll find this pretty fascinating. So I studied football, like, to try to figure out, and I just broadcast games when I was in college, and I never played the game. But I figured out the moment that a team is at the opponent's 32-yard line, that's when you make a live bet. Why? Because at the 32, if there's a holding call, well, they're going to go to the 42, and they won't score. Right. If it's a running play, you'll get to the 25, and then you're definitely going to get at least 3. And if it's a throw, if it's a pass, then maybe it's closer to a touchdown. So if you make your decision around the 32 to 35-yard line, are they going to get 0, 3, or 7? In that moment, that's the moment where I press the button, because you got to have your strategy on how to play live before you go into the game.
Yeah, you can't be thinking about as the team is marching down the field, right?
Right. It's just like Twitter. Just because you could write something up and tweet in 3 seconds doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, well, I tell you, one of the disclaimers I make, like, I'll make my picks on Thursday, and they usually get out on Friday. And, I always look at 2 things. First, after I do my analytical study, I got more stats than you could possibly imagine. Everybody does right now. There's stats out there that are incredible. Then, I look at tape, which is, I just did a piece for Peyton Manning on ESPN Plus. Him and I did a piece on film study. And it was cool working with Peyton, because we both have the same mentality on film study. Study the game, study the teams. Okay, that's all part of it. But then, like you just said a moment ago, you may have, the Raiders coming from Las Vegas to New England, and it's going to be 8 degrees below zero when the wind blowing. So you got to be aware up until game time what the weather conditions are. There is validity to that travel across the country, or traveling out west, or the heat in Miami. So although I do the film study, the analytics, then the weather becomes into play, and then the mentality of a team. And by the way, what the Jets did last week, showed me what the National Football League is all about. And then you get whack job New York fans, the Jets are idiots, they won a game. Well, they don't understand the mentality of the player. They don't.
Jaws, let me ask you this.
Win.
Isn't it dangerous to try to lose, to be on the football field at the speed that these guys are going at?
It's not even a thought that goes into someone's head.
Right.
Darren, it's not even a thought. You are. Well, Darren, I know you're a busy guy, but I really want to thank you for joining here on the Jaws podcast and Jaws Picks podcast, and keep up the great work that you do promoting sports and gaming and all the good things that you're involved with. So I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Jaws. Good to see you and hear from you again.
It was easy. It was quick.
RK Subaru does it right with year-end pricing and 0% financing. New 2021 Subaru OUTBACKS with 0% financing for 63 months. New 2021 Subaru CROSSTREK with 0.9% financing for 48 months. And you get RK coverage, no charge, during the Subaru Share the Love event.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Subaru does it right.
RK Subaru of Vineland.
We are coming to you live from the 7 Tap Tavern at the Ramblewood Country Club. A couple special guests here at the Tap Tavern. We got, Duke Davis, Clemson University, well represented here at 7 Tap Tavern, and my dear friend Phil Bogle, former San Diego Charger offensive lineman, general manager of the Philadelphia Soul, and now working the NFL League office. Good to see you guys, man. Always holiday season, I love when guys just stop in out of the blue and say hello, and those are a couple guys that I really love, man. I also love my special guest tonight as well, Hugh Douglas, 80 sacks in his career, 352 tackles, now calling radio down at 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. And Hugh, welcome back, number one. And we talked about this, what happens in a quarterback controversy. I thought your comments, at least I thought, were well thought out. You were thinking, hey, let's finish the season, let Hurts play it out, and let him go to battle. Let's see who wins this thing next year. Is kind of that your feeling?
Yeah, because Jaws, like I said, you can't, it's 4 games, and Carson Wentz has put this city. He put him in a position to win the Super Bowl. I know Nick Foles was the quarterback.
Right.
But if Carson Wentz doesn't have that season, you're probably not in position to go. So I think that, he's had a tough season. He's had to grow and mature as a player probably. This is probably the hardest thing that he's ever had to deal with. and he's probably going to have to go home and do some soul searching and just come back and be better. But I will say this. On the outside looking in, Jaws, haven't seen that many Eagles games. I'll say that first. But the first thing that came to mind for me was when I was hearing about his problem, was like, okay, who is he throwing the ball to? Because I know Deshaun Jackson was a little banged up, and a couple other receivers were banged up. And then you hear about Jason Peters early on moving the guard and then moving the tackle. And, just as a side thinking about all of that, I'm like, man, it sounds to me on the outside looking in like there were some problems with the offensive line. Now, like I said, I haven't seen that many Eagles games, but just reading from the, different things that I saw and everything, that was what came to mind initially. So I was like, okay, like I said, when things go bad, you blame the quarterback. But it's 10 other guys out there on the field that get paid too.
Yeah, that's life in the NFL. That's you get too much credit when you win, or too much blame when you lose. And certainly Carson got great credit when they were winning. Obviously, he didn't win the Super Bowl MVP, but that was a great year for the Eagles, and Nick Foles came in. When I look at Carson, I still see the same incredible talent, the arm talent. He has regressed this year. I look at every tape. I look at the all 22, and I make my evaluation based on that, not what I read, what some reporter thinks or some other analysts think. I like to form my own opinion. But something happened to this guy. I don't know if it's mental, if it's coaching. I just can't put my finger on it. But clearly he's regressed. He has far too much talent to play at the level he played at during his stretch of games. And obviously Jalen Hurts came in, rejuvenated the offense. He's got better speed than Carson. They're both mobile, can run. And the one thing you notice about Hurts, he's fast. As quarterback, he's fast. He can run. And you defensive ends don't like that. You don't like chasing those fast quarterbacks. So
not at all, Jaws. You got a guy that can run out of the pocket, put stress on your defensive line, and make you, you can't really rush freely when you have a quarterback out there like that. Because I can hear Jim Johnson in my head every day when I see young quarterbacks running. That means you keep outside contained. If you don't keep outside contained, you're coming out the game. So yeah, you got to be able to keep outside contained on him, because if you lose the integrity of the defense, he can make you pay for it. It's all of that, but it's the newness of everything too. And I still think Carson can play. I still think he can play, Jaws. You just have to figure out how it's going to work moving forward, or can he bounce back from this?
Yeah, you touched on something very important, the defensive adjustment. And clearly we've only got a 2-game sampling. And like I said, Hurts played well in his first game. I thought he missed some opportunities. He used a great term, leaving money on the table. I thought he missed some plays in the Arizona game that, when the score was 26-26. They had a couple possessions where they could have gotten the lead. They did not, and he missed some throws in that point. But defenses made him play from the pocket. He got sacked a number of times late in the game because they didn't allow him to get outside the pocket. So you as a defensive player, when you see a small sampling of a quarterback, what does that tell you?
It tells you it's kind of hard to get a beat on him, because normally, and I have to go with the example of Taysom Hill. When you see him play, when they played Atlanta Falcons, that was his first game. You saw a lot of quick throws. You saw some slants. You saw a lot of letting him get outside the pocket. You saw them allow him to use his legs to make plays. And as you see, as it went on, Jaws, teams started to keep him inside the pocket and make him play quarterback. That's what you do. Like again, I have to go back to Jim Johnson, because it felt like when Jim was there, we had our fair share of playing mobile quarterbacks. Michael Vick in a championship game, right? Yeah, and guys that were mobile. And I remember vividly Jim saying, Hugh, I know you want to get to the passer, but you have to keep this guy inside the pocket. You can't rush inside. You have to maintain your rush lane and make him play quarterback. Because Jaws, it's hard. Like the armchair quarterbacks always talk about how easy it is to make this and that throw. But Jaws, they're not that easy to make when you got people breathing down your throat, trying to take your head off, and you have to go through your progressions. They're not that easy to make, and you have to pick out the windows. So you have to make those split-second decisions. So you make him sit in the pocket, and you disguise your coverage, and you make him figure out where the holes are in your defense while you squeeze the pocket. Call it mush rush.
Yep.
Make sure you keep those D tackles in front of him because he's not that big a guy. And when he does throw the ball, put your hands up. Because if you can get him to double clutch it, that's when you get your chance to get a sack. So you haven't seen a whole lot of that. Like you said, Arizona started to do that. They came up with some big-time sacks when they needed to. But that's what you do with a quarterback like that because now you're making him make those split-second decisions by disguising coverages and showing him one thing and then doing something totally different. How does he handle all of that?
Yeah.
And that's why I say in 4 games, you'll be able to tell how he handles that kind of pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even, I'm not even sure 4 games gives you a good enough template to say, well, he's our guy. But, he's been there. And you did, which actually surprised me. You mentioned this a little earlier, this COVID era that we're in. He didn't get the training camp, didn't get the offseason, he didn't get the preseason games. I mean, this is really all new to him. And in the same situation, other defenses had nothing on him. Yeah, they can go check Oklahoma tape, they can go check Alabama tape, but it's totally different than NFL football. And now they got him on tape. Now they see what he wants to do. I thought last week a couple times I saw his helmet drop, his eyes go down, looking for the opportunity to run. And as a quarterback in this league, your eyes have to be downfield. And once you start saying, okay, I can get out of this with my running ability, that's when you diminish your talent as an NFL quarterback, reading defense and throwing the football. So when I watch this game this week, I'm going to watch his helmet really close to make sure his eyes are downfield reading the coverage. Because I know you defensive guys, you tricky defensive guys, you're trying to force him into those mistakes.
Oh, yeah, definitely, Jaws. Because listen, we know the guy is talented. And we know his biggest asset right now, like, he's a creature of habit. If you get in trouble and you're trying to make a play, he wants to make a play, he wants to run. Take that away from him. Okay, say for instance, he throws the slant well. Take away the slant. Make him throw the ball down to the tight end. Make him go through his progression. That's how you do it. Like I said, every time I see a young quarterback and I see them play, the thing that always jumps in my mind, what Jim Johnson used to say, confuse them. Yep. Make them see certain things that aren't there. And like say, if you show blitz, drop back out and play zone. But make him throw those throws. Make him play the position. Make him recognize what you're trying to do. Because, you get out there, Jaws, and you get to thinking, it's hard. Like when some of those things change, it's tough. It's tough being in that pocket. It's tough playing quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I know you tricky defense guys. You use the term rent space in his mind. And I know hey, that's what you want to do, Hugh. And Hugh, I can't thank you enough for joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show. Staying on for an extra segment. You enlightened all our listening audience. So, Hugh Douglas, thank you so much. Have a great holiday season, Hugh.
You too, Jaws. Anytime for you. Anything for you, Jaws. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Appreciate everything you did.
Thank you, Hugh. Hugh Douglas, the very best. And I said happy holidays to Hugh Douglas and his family. I want to wish everyone in our listening audience a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Let's hope 2021 is a lot better than 2020. It's been a tough year for everybody. But as usual, I like to make my pick at the end of the show. And so this week, I'm going to give everyone a very Merry Christmas as the Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys 24-21. 24-21 Eagles. And let's hope that the Washington Washington football team cannot find a way to beat the Carolina Panthers. And we'll go to week 17 with a chance to make it to the playoffs. Next week, we'll be coming to you with the Ron Jaworski Show from Valley Brook Country Club. And our guest will be Eagle great former corner Bobby Taylor. Good night, everyone, and have a very Merry Christmas and be safe.
Your wedding might look a little different than you first imagined, but that doesn't mean it can't be the most memorable day of your life. At Ron Jaworski Weddings, our 5 award-winning wedding venues are open, and we're meeting with couples daily, both in person by appointment or virtually with tours and video conferences. Voted the best of the knot and Wedding Wire 11 years in a row. See all we can do to make your day special at ronjaworskiweddings.com.